We met, I can distinctly remember, in the table tennis room. I was playing table tennis with another boy. Mike wanted to get on the table, and we thought, who's he? No. So we kept playing. He was getting more frustrated. And I think he went for me. I really think he went for me. And so I thought,
I never ever took any prisoners.
Yeah, he never did. He still doesn't.
No.
So in the end, I convinced the other boy to put his bat down and give it to Michael.
So what, we played each other?
We played each other.
Do you know, I don't remember that at all.
Of course not.
I just remember you boxing.
Maybe I was doing it at the same time?
No.
No.
No. And I also remember really firing the hardest possible shot I can at you.
This man, when we was in training in the gym, we played five-a-side. He used to hit the ball like he was in the cup final at Wembley. This lunatic. In the end, I just walked out of the goal, let him kill somebody else.
Yeah. I also remember my first camp, and I'd never had any experience of camp before, and I didn't know Brian that well, but our tent was up against his tent. There may have been, I don't know, 10 tents with maybe 10 people in each tent, so there were 100 boys, and as the week progressed, his tent and my tent were the two front runners, and so we got very, very competitive on that, but we did beat them in the end.
I don't believe that for 1 minute. That's his story. Yes, I mean this man was a real sabotager. He used to walk around dropping cigarette butts around the back of the tent, so Yogi would discover him and say we weren't doing our job, which we couldn't make out why there were cigarette butts. Then we found out years later.
Do you remember that Anita had gone on the girls' club Italian holiday?
Oh right, yeah.
And Rita had gone to Belgium, I think, with some friends of hers, and you and I went on the advance party.
Oh yes.
At camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went in your full prefect that wouldn't go above 30 miles an hour.
and the steering wheel shook. If you hit 32 mile an hour, the steering wheel shook.
But yeah. we found out it was the wheel balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who knew about wheel balance?
No, that's right.
No.
That's right. Yeah.
But camp was great. I mean, especially the advance party, because it was just a few of us having a good laugh.
Yeah, and we were on the
digging trench and the rear party.
And the rear party. Yeah.
Digging trenches, making latrines and
well,
so forth.
One year I was on the quartermasters.
Oh, I was on the quartermasters.
And we had to dig a trench to put the butter in. Do you remember that? And then that time was when I pretended I got drunk and I got hit in the stomach by Johnny Bristow because he wanted me to be sick.
But I remember the jam.
Oh, what? Tell me about the jam.
Well, the jam, I mean, we was outdoors like this, putting the jam in the little pots to put on the tables.
Yeah.
Of course, it was like bees swarming around while we were doing. So if the bee landed in the jam,
we just put the lid on. It added to the flavour.
And he waited while he was in the marquee for breakfast, waited to hear us scream, which often happened.
But isn't it interesting that the trick was to be on the quartermasters rather than the pioneers?
Yeah.
The poor old pioneers had to dig the trenches for the latrines.
But they were the first ones to go out if there was a storm.
And do you remember Johnny Rabin fell in the trench?
Cats got whizzed along in the where the marquee went down.
Oh yeah, that was a storm.
It was like a whiplash.
And we were all holding down the guy ropes of the marquee. This is a massive marquee.
Yeah, you're talking about 300 kids in the marquee.
Yeah, and we all were called out in the middle of the night to hold the marquee down. But 300 boys against the force of nature. No, we were on the losing side. And so the marquee blew away.
Well, we was told by Yogi, who was in charge of this manoeuvre, to let go. We all let go.
Except one case.
So the last we saw of him was flying through the air. I think he was reaching Mach 1, you know.
It was an infamous game.
Well,
we only ever lost one match in all the years. I mean, what, from 14 to 19.
Was it Maccabi?
Maccabi at Hainault. And
In the cup final?
In the cup final.
Yeah.
And we lost 3-2 in extra time.
Yeah.
You were the goalie.
I was.
And Howard Cliff made some flashy
He
back
pass to me about 60 feet away. He done this back pass, and he expected me to get to the ball before the centre forward. I nearly did, but
yeah. And Frankel hit the bar.
Yeah.
And David Marcus hit the bar.
We lost.
Michael Solomons was in the team.
We lost.
And we lost 3-2
against Queen's Park Rangers.
It's haunted me ever since.
Yes.
I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes.
Shivering.
Yeah. What could have been?
Well,
we could have had a clean sheet all through
absolutely.
our club
Football
history.
Club.
Not that anyone would ever know or care.
No. It was, I mean, we used to beat Oxford and St George's and Stepney, what, 22-0 and 18. I used to sit up against the goalpost peeling an orange.
Do you remember where it was that we beat
Because they couldn't
20?
score.
I thought it was 30 something.
No, let's not get carried away. It was 22-0.
And where was it?
You want me to remember?
Yeah. I remember.
With the Marshes?
No.
Right.
Another go?
Elms?
No.
You starting that again? Where?
King George VI playing
Oh, you
field.
just said that.
It was the only time we ever played there. And we won
22-0.
No, I thought it was 36-0.
Can't be 36 now.
I think
you wouldn't have time to score.
I think
36.
I scored 5. Rothman scored 6 or 7. Philly Jacobs scored 4 or 5. Pushkin scored 5.
Pushkin.
And you were there
yes,
doing nothing.
I was doing nothing. Yeah, I don't think the ball came across the halfway line.
Yeah.
And if it did, I didn't stop peeling my orange. Yeah. Play cards every Friday night at my place.
Yeah.
Didn't we? My mum, bless her, she used to make a pile of sandwiches. You couldn't believe the pile. She used to put me in the kitchen, shut the door, and that was it. She wouldn't dare come in the kitchen again.
I always remember you had lemonade. I used to love going round to your house because you had lemonade. We never had lemonade in our house.
Do you know what? You feel like you want to burst into tears, don't you? You never had lemonade. You were so
No.
What?
Well, we couldn't really afford to have regular lemonade. Your mum and dad must have been richer than my mum and dad.
Well, yeah, of course.
And we never had sweets on the table either.
Well, if you remember, we had a sweet shop.
Oh,
That'd be a good clue.
Remember George, who used to fix the cars?
Oh, your car?
Yeah, he told me to buy it, to go to Leytonstone, because
I've got to stop him there. He had one of these old Populars. It's an old what they call a stand-up big car. It was a high old, what was it, about 1940?
1939 Ford Anglia, actually.
Rita, bless her, had to lean out the car window when it was raining with a wiper to do this.
It had a hole in the floor.
And it had a hole in the floor.
And also, it had those things that used to go up when you wanted to turn right.
Oh,
the
little ears, yeah. Didn't the back axle drop out?
The back axle, I didn't know at the time, but there was a noise, a thumping noise, whenever it was going. And
the bumper dropped off.
You knew someone who could fix it. His name was George, who lived in your buildings.
Yeah.
So we had moved to Newbury Park at the time, and there was a pit in the house, and George arranged that he would come up and fix the back axle by putting a new one in. But he told me to go to Leytonstone under the arches and buy another back axle. So I went there, I got this back axle. It's a massive, massive thing. They somehow put it in the back of the car, got to the house, George arrived, we took the back axle out the car, put the car over the pit. George gets in the pit, he's bang, 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 takes the back axle out, just massive thing, gets the new, well, it wasn't a new, it was a second-hand back axle, puts it in,
third hand,
all fixed, and I go to drive it and it got the same noise. the back axle they'd sold me had the same problem as the back axle that was broken.
You bought a Duff back axle?
Well, that was George's fault.
Oh, God,
and I hold you responsible. When I was working at McCann Erickson,
yes,
and I was the media director there, and I was doing new business presentations with the rest of the board, and there was a client coming down from Manchester, Great Universal Stores, a really big spender, very important client, and we were all very nervous before the presentation, And this client comes into the room and they said, is there a Mike Yershon on the team? So I said, yes. He said, well, we've just come from King's Cross station and we got in a taxi and we said we were going to McCann Erickson, and the driver said, oh, do you know Mike Yershon? And they said, how is it you knew this particular cab driver? How many cab drivers do you know in London? And it turns out it was Gevelb. And they'd got in his cab, and obviously he knew I worked at McCann Erickson, so when they said they were going there, he said, are you going to see Mike Yershon? And so I was famous.
Not the story I thought you was going to tell.
Oh, go on then.
The other story was, again, back McCann Erickson, you were there, and I had a fare to come out of Euston, got in the cab, also said McCann Erickson. Again, I hit him with, do you know Mike Yershon? Yes, yes. And I said, hang on. And I remember phoning you.
Oh.
And I said, Mike, I said, I got whatever, so in the back of the cab.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to have a word with it. So I had to pass my phone, and you two were gaily having a chat on my phone, on my time, while I was driving them along.
So you've not changed your phone since then, have you?
And, I've still got it on.
He became a cab driver because of me, because you would never have got past the knowledge had it not been for when we were sleeping together in bed in Swansea.
Do you have to?
And you were asking me to take you through
Did
the
you
runs.
have to? While I was on the so-called knowledge, I'm sure you know, I was on the knowledge, and we all, the four of us, Manita and I, Rita and Michael, Marion and Michael, we went to Swansea, near the Mumbles, for a holiday, for about a week or so. But I had to take all my books with me, so I could, what we used to call, calling over. And so we was up to like 3 o'clock in the morning, Mike listening to me saying, leave on the left, turn right here, turn left here.
We were sleeping together as we weren't married at the time.
We should stop saying it.
And we weren't allowed to sleep with the girls, so the girls slept together, and Gevelb and I ended up sleeping together. Although we didn't get much sleep, so forever calling over these runs.
Yeah.
Forward King's Cross.
But you fell asleep most of the time when I was doing it anyway, so I would finish up talking to myself.
We are the Brady boys. We are the Brady boys. We know our manners. We spend our time.